Okay, the aim of this paper is to look at the date of the end of BB1 use in the north, by which I mean on sites north of the Humber Mersey line. The traditional view was that the BB1 trade ended and the late phase of Cranbeck production began with the introduction of Cranbeck parchment ware around AD 370, following a reorganisation of the frontier after the Pict War of AD 367. This was revised after a large seal group from Birdoswald, Herd's Analytical Group 13, was excavated with a coin list ending 355 or so. Bidwell has argued that the clear evidence from Birdoswald, Analytical Group 13, of a start date of circa 350 should be discarded and the traditional date of circa 370 returned to on the grounds that the fabric is common in groups which end with Valentinic coins, but absent in most groups that end with coins in the 350s, except the Birdoswald group. Bidwell claims amongst the 4 sites that provide pre-Valentinianic contexts, Cranbeck parchment ware is present only at site 434 Catterick. The four sites which Bidwell cites are Catterick North, site 434, Catterick Bridge, site 240, phase 5, York Skeldergate, and Ravenglass phase 3. In fact, Cranbeck parchment ware is only absent from Ravenglass and Catterick Bridge, as there is a Cranbeck Type 7 mortarium from Skeldergate, which Bidwell asserts can plausibly be regarded alongside the coining of Gratian as a casual later loss. Whilst this might be true of the coin, the mortarium consists of 4 rim sherds from 3 different contexts, 2062, 2065 and 2066, all from the middle well fills. It is not so clear, therefore, that these can be excused as intrusive. Overall, the Skeldergate well contains 5.9% of Cranbeck parchment ware, a respectable quantity compared with other late 4th century groups, alongside 19% of Cranbeck grey ware and 20.3% of calcite gritted ware. The roughly equal proportions of Cranbeck grey ware and calcite gritted ware point to a date around the middle of the century. Generally, groups before this tend to be dominated by Cranbeck grey wares, whilst later 4th century groups usually contain a majority of calcite gritted wares. There, and now I have time to find the next sheet. Turning to Ravenglass, Potter, 1979 report makes it very clear why Cranbeck parchment ware might be absent from phase 3. Most of the vessels illustrated for phase 3 are of 2nd and early 3rd century date. Only 4 vessels post-dating AD 270 are illustrated amongst the vessels captioned phase 3 pottery from late context. 3 of which are BB1 vessels, and only 1 a grey ware beaded and flanged bowl, possibly Cranbeck grey ware. There is not enough potentially contemporary early to mid 4th century material present to remotely claim that the absence of Cranbeck parchment ware from this group could be significant. At Catterick Bridge, phase 5, the group comprises 538 sherds weighing 10.3 kilos. The ratio of Cranbeck grey ware to calcite gritted ware is 4.5% of the grey ware and 1.3% of the calcite gritted ware, reflecting the dominance of Cranbeck grey wares in the early 4th century. The assemblage is dominated by quartz-tempered gritted wares at 29.7%, BB1 at 14.6%, and Nene Valley colour coats at 8.7%. This slide shows the date distribution plot constructed from the former currents table for Catterick Bridge phase 5. The plot, like the fabric figures, suggests a substantial element of later 3rd century material is present, alongside a smaller quantity of earlier 4th century material, with little dating to the middle of the century. Only 24 sherds of Cranbeck greyware are in this group, meaning that the absence of any Cranbeck parchment ware is really not very significant. Most of the contents of this group are likely to be too early to help answering the question posed, as with the Ravenglass group. With regard to the key Bird-Oswald group, Bidwell claims the association in the same deposit of a sizable group of pottery, 7.7 kilos, 557 sherds, with a series of coins ended at 360, is beyond any doubt, but entirely contradicts the evidence from the other sites set out above. Well, we've seen that's pushing it a little bit. As we've already seen, this is seriously questionable. Bidwell goes on to suggest this is best explained by considering the material used in the fill of the granary basement at Bird-Oswald, in which coins and pottery were incorporated, the lower deposits including silty clay and the upper deposits clay loam, although the whole series of deposits consists mainly of stone rubble and roof slates. The building debris probably comes from the superstructure of the granary, but the clay and loam deposits must have been brought from elsewhere. They were probably quarried from open areas of the site, and it is easy to see how material from two separate episodes of activity could have been mixed together in the filling of the basement. That's the end of the quote. Bidwell's claim may be arguable, but the coin assemblage is large for a single episode, with 23 coins, whilst the pottery has a fairly low level of residuality. Only about 22% of the 32 illustrated rim sherds, in my opinion. It would seem surprising that there are no contemporary coins, on Bidwell's view, and little residual pottery of a similar date to the coins. Indeed, Hurd shows that the group contains 3.2% of Cranbeck greyware to 20% of calcite gritted wares, with 1% of Cranbeck parchment ware, a ratio of Cranbeck greyware to calcite gritted ware that might be expected for a mid to late 4th century group, again indicating a lack of pottery associated with the coins were they earlier than the pottery. Whilst Bidwell's argument has some plausibility, it seems to require, in my view, a little too much special pleading of the case. Then we come to Hodgson. He, in 2009, has asserted that Bidwell shows that in all cases without exception, Cranbeck parchment ware only appears in context securely dated to after AD 370, and is absent from those securely dated 350, 370. Almost certainly the crucial context of Bird-Oswald was of a later date than the latest coins in it. As has been discussed, such an assertion seems to me somewhat inaccurate and requires a bit too much of a leap of faith on presupposition. Now we come to the choice. So now we have two choices. Either BB1 comes to the north on the West Coast trade, ending in 350, or 370. Here we come into the evidence from Hinton St Mary. This has produced 2,248 sherds and a strong coin list, which indicates the start of occupation in the period 330 to 350, of which, in order to fit best with the pottery evidence, I would favour a date of about 350. As it fits better with Lyon's typology. The BB1 here is subtly, but quite different to that coming from the later groups in the north of England. It has the late jars and the wide-mouthed jars with oblique lattice decoration and types spanning the later 4th century relative sequence outlined by Lyon. And here are Lyon's types of, if you like, the normal jars and the wide-mouthed jars. Now, and this is a collection of Hinton, and you have a number of fairly wide-mouthed jars and the now normal jars are jars with oblique lattice, you've got jars with the bands of wavy lattice, etc. Basically at Hinton, BB1 types such as the dog dish, inverted commas, and the developed bead and flange bowl are usually undecorated. And whilst on northern sites the form is the same, the vessels are generally decorated with burnished intersecting arcs. There are just 4 simple rimmed dishes with any trace of intersecting arc decoration at Hinton, compared with 49 examples with plain, undecorated walls. Similarly, there are 8 developed beaded and flanged bowls with intersecting arc decoration at Hinton, compared with 66 examples with plain, undecorated walls. In the north, a sample of BB1 from late Roman context at Binchester, to be fair, that's sort of late 3rd through to mid 4th, contained just 10 dish rims which might have been undecorated, compared with 46 with intersecting arc decoration. And similarly, more than half of the 22 developed beaded and flanged bowls recorded had intersecting arc decoration. A similar pattern can be seen on other late sites in the south. At Bradley Hill, and that's just, sorry, that's the Bradley Hill stuff. I apologise for the quality of the slides. At Bradley Hill, the late groups included 6 developed beaded and flanged bowls with intersecting arc decoration and 30 without decoration, together with 2 dog dishes with intersecting arc decoration, compared to 26 examples without decoration. At Bath, the temple site lacks tabulation of the decoration, but although it can't be quantified, again, if you look at the illustrations, they appear to be lacking any with the intersecting arc decoration, I believe. At Druce Farm, there's 1 developed beaded and flanged bowl with intersecting arcs, to 6 undecorated from the late 4th century groups, and 1 dish which is decorated. It seems reasonably clear that at circa 350, given the coin dates from Hinton, or very little later, most dishes and bowls cease to have intersecting arc decoration. The absence of northern groups with undecorated BB dishes and beaded and flanged bowls in the majority suggests BB1 was not reaching the region much after 350, as does the absence of all lines late jar types from sites north of Sagontium. It's also suggested that circa 350-355 probably remains the best start date for the latest phase of the northern pottery types. Now, I'm just stuck in one final note. This is a map of the later 4th century BB1 distribution in the southwest. Line maps all the stuff in the southeast, but actually doesn't provide any mapping going back into the core Dorset territory. And I just thought this is quite a jolly little map. Basically, you see the core distribution in BB1 in Durotrigian territory and points west, and the hard boundary to the east of Durotrigian territory reasserts itself, that something that's seen in the Iron Age. Anyway, that's me done.